Okay, are you going to hit the record button?
It's recording, like, since
now
10
it's
minutes
recording.
ago. It's recording since 10 minutes ago.
I just now saw the recording.
Welcome to Chai With Us podcast. Today we're going to do an episode introducing ourselves. So grab your cup of tea and let's go.
Hi, this is Ivana from Izabells Okolo, and I'm very happy that you're joining us for an honest discussion about sensitive topics.
Yeah, and I forgot to introduce myself. So this is Erika, aka the personal developer. I am so happy to be here. This is like so unreal. So where do you want to start? Should we start with who we are? Do you want to?
Yes, let's do that. Why don't you go first and then I'll go?
Okay, so for me it's a little bit difficult to say who am I, but I'm gonna try to make like just short introduction. So basically, I was born in Angola, and then my family moved to Portugal. Yeah, at the moment I'm living in Tenerife, so as you see, I'm kind of an international person all over the place. But now I'm in Tenerife. It's been 5 years now, and I'm not going anywhere. I am a certified life coach. I'm also a yoga teacher and a primary school teacher. So I am a busy woman. I love to help people, and right now I really would like to focus on helping people that have been through trauma just live their best lives and show them that it's possible to live a better life, because sometimes people like us, and I include myself in that, you guys are going to have the opportunity to know more about my story. But basically, I think that when you've been through trauma, you think that it's going to be like this forever. So I want to be that person that tells you, like, no, this is not going to be like this forever.
Yeah.
That we can do something about it. So yeah, that's a little bit about me, and hopefully we will have many episodes and allow people to know more.
Yes, I love it. I actually really resonate with a lot of the things that you said.
Yeah.
I myself was born in Bosnia and Herzegovina, which used to be part of Yugoslavia. And then in 92, the Civil War broke out. So we had to flee to Germany. And I was just 6 years old. And it was a traumatic experience. I mean, for me, remember what it was like to be 6, and like for you too, maybe. I was in another country. I didn't understand the language. My father was still in Bosnia. I was crying all the time. Like, they used to call my mom into school to ask her if she was abusing me because I would just cry. And actually, my schooling is so funny because I did 3rd grade first because I had cousins of a cousin, and I would go with them and they would help explain things to me. And, finally, after I became accustomed to the German life, we had to go back because all the refugees were told to go back. But my mom is a Bosnian Serb and my dad is a Bosnian Croat. And so we didn't want to go back because they wouldn't have been able to live together right after the war. So we immigrated to the United States. And again, like at 12, I'm faced with the same problems again of like, I don't understand the language. I remember this, I'll never forget this. One of our neighbors kept saying, "How you doing?" And I had learned proper British English. And so I kept asking him, "I don't understand." And he like said it again. He's like, "How you doing?" And so finally he gave up. He's like, "I don't even care how you doing." Like, just and I learned English watching Days of Our Lives. Like, I would have Days of Our Lives as soap opera on, and I would read the subtitles. Yeah. And actually, it's a very good way to learn English because soap operas are so emotive, like so full of emotion.
I know.
Yeah, and so I spent 20 years living in the U.S. And then finally in 2015, like, I was working as a lawyer and I didn't really like it. Like, I thought that would be my ticket to happiness. Like, finally I would be over this trauma and I would be happy and I would have money and I wouldn't have to worry about money. And that was not the case at all. It was very hard work. I didn't enjoy it. Yeah. The only thing I enjoyed was going to socialize with other attorneys in court.
That was not the purpose of your profession, right?
No, not at all. But I was never that person. Like, I do care about money, but money is not my life. And what
Yeah.
law taught me is that the only valuable thing you really have is your time, because you have to bill for every single minute that you're talking to a client. And so then I realized, well, how am I living my life? Like, this is not how I want to live my life. Like, I want to help people, and I want to share my story. I mean, maybe somebody, like you said, can get help from that. And childhood trauma is very serious. It's deeply rooted in our root chakra, and that's when a lot of people have issues with and problems. Like, because everything I was always living on like, oh, when is the next big disaster going to happen in my life? Like, when is everything else going to fall apart? And I was just surviving. Like, I wasn't really like digging in, and those were uncomfortable emotions. Like, I didn't want to feel that emotion of a crying child. Like, it's hard, it's difficult.
It's so crazy. It's so crazy. I think we have so much in common. Like, I moved a lot. I think that's why we connect so deeply, because we have a lot in common. Like moving, learning. I learned English watching movies as well. Yeah, of course. Then I learned in school, but that's one of the main reasons why I was able to speak English as well. And all that you said, is just resonates so deeply with me. And sometimes I remember the day when I decided that I didn't want to be miserable anymore. I remember the day perfectly. I was like, how is it possible that we have 7 days in a week and that I'm sad most of the days? Like, my purpose was just to change into like the other way around, like be happy 5 days and being sad 2. I would be happy with that. How crazy is that? Like,
I like that. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
So why don't you describe, what 5 words would you use to describe yourself? You already mentioned that you're a yoga teacher and a life coach. What are some other ways to describe yourself? Like, if you had 5 words to describe yourself, what would they be?
I think that listener would be a good one.
That's so funny. I picked that same one.
That's why we connect so much. And yeah, I think sometimes I listen more than I talk. I feel that with a lot of people that I hang out with, I listen a lot. So I would say listener. I would say funny, even though some people may not agree with that, but I don't care.
I agree with it. It's okay. We have our own sense of
If
humor.
we're laughing. Yeah, so I would say funny is a good one as well. I would say loving as well. I think I'm a loving person. How many words? 5.
Yeah. Or 4, whatever.
Or 4, 5 or 4. I don't know. Creative. Because it doesn't matter what I do. I'm always creative. I'm teaching yoga. I'm creative. We're doing this podcast. I try to be creative and show things in a different way. So I would say creative, because it goes for everything I do in my life. How about you?
I would say a yogi, but not so much a yogi in just practicing the asanas, but living in the actual yogic philosophy. Like, really watching that I don't lie for no reason, or that I don't hurt people. That's always a very big topic, but also not hurting myself anymore by maybe drinking too much alcohol or eating foods that I know are not good for me. I would say a listener as well. I love to hear people's stories. And I would say, I don't know, like a foreigner. Like, that's what everyone calls me, is a foreigner. Like, everywhere I go, I'm a foreigner. Even in my own country. I think that's the deep hurt that I feel inside, is that when I go back to Bosnia, even though I look like them, I don't sound like them and I don't talk like them. And they can sense that something is off. It's like I'm like the black puppy that has joined back into it, and it's not the same. Like, they know, like, if I go to the grocery store, I don't know how to work the machine because it's using a Cyrillic alphabet and I don't know how to read Cyrillic, so I always have to ask people, and they're like, I don't understand, like, why don't you know how to do this? And so, I guess foreigner, a yogi, a cook. I love to cook. A listener, and a friend. A friend first and foremost, because I'm an only child. I don't have any siblings. And so for me, my friends are like my brothers and sisters. Like, I really work hard on retaining friendships with people that really mean a lot to me, because I know that, like, when my parents die, I'm not going to have any siblings. Like, it's just going to be me and I'm alone. And so I love having deep friendships with people. not just
Yeah.
surface ones. You know, like the you know what I'm talking about, like the surface friendships. You're like, why am I even friends with this person?
Yeah, like you're talking about the weather and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you know what? Something that you said about being a foreigner just caught my attention. And I think it would be interesting if we address this because I feel that
Sure.
I belong nowhere. Yeah.
Yes.
So I
Okay.
think that should
Mhm.
be an interesting podcast. But right now, I
Yeah.
don't even consider myself as a foreigner. I just consider myself as whatever I am, which is like a crazy
Mhm.
mixture of things
Mhm.
because I'm not, I can't say, like, of course I'm Portuguese, of course I'm Angolan, but
Mhm.
you know, just if I go to Angola, people will say like, where does your
It
accent
it
comes from? Why are you
it's the
talking
same
like
thing that
this?
I
It's
experienced.
like I'm
Yeah, it's
faking an
the same
accent.
thing.
No, I speak like this. You know, I actually that's how I speak. Yeah. And
Yeah.
in Portugal, I'm like black and Afro and whatever. People are like, "Where are you from?"
Mhm.
Here,
Mhm.
you know.
You know, for me, living in the U.S. for 20 years, I think it's very difficult because there's so many people from all over the world here, and I don't know that you can even really say that America has a culture. We love football, and we cheer on like our favorite sports teams, and we have holidays that we congregate around. But it's not like one culture, if that makes any sense. Like it's a mix of different cultures. And so here, I at least, I'm speaking for myself, I tried so hard to belong to America. And I don't know that I do. Like, I just don't know that I fit in here. Like, it's just,
Hmm.
you know, the sense of belonging is such a like root chakra. I keep talking about that
Yeah.
because that's what everyone wants. They want to feel like they belong to the group. And then when you
Hmm.
don't belong to the group, it's kind of like, well, who do you belong to? Like, who are you? Like, what?
Yeah.
And I feel like traveling the last 4 years and getting to live, like at Amas Ashram, I got to live with a lot of women from different countries. It kind of made me happy. It like gave me new perspective, and it showed me that we are, even though we are different, we're also the same. You know, we still have a
Yeah.
lot of the same fears, the same desires. So it doesn't really matter like where you're from. It's you finding your own self
Yeah.
in you know wherever you are.
Yeah. And accepting basically, because I mean, I'm never going to be typical.
Yes.
And well, nobody should be typical, by the way. I don't know
Yes.
what typical means, but
Mhm.
nobody should be typical, by the way. And I think that
Yeah.
accepting that it's like a journey, right?
Yes. Yes, it
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you mentioned it because I'm reading The Giver. Have you read that?
The giver, I don't think so.
I'm reading it, and it's like this utopian community that they've created, but like, you know, they decide who you marry, they decide how many children you get. It's very much like, wow, this is what a black and white world would look like. And we don't live in a black and white world. We live in a world of gray. You know what I mean?
Yeah, thank God. Yeah.
And that's what I loved about the law. Like the law to me wasn't so much about, you know, it's a set of rules, but then when something
Mhm.
happens is how can we make the law work for this person in their situation? You know,
Yeah.
how can we figure out a loophole, or how can we finesse the law to help this person get out of the trouble that they're in? Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about, so we talked about who we are, and oh, where did we meet? Do you want to tell that story?
Yeah. It was so deep. It was
Mhm.
so deep, and we have met basically for you to understand. We have met in India in an ashram, Chatti. So I was staying there for about 2 weeks and a little bit more. And so I went for yoga. I went for yoga and meditation and wanted to learn, but like learn from the source. So a lot of interesting people were there, and it was so interesting, right? It's an interesting situation because everybody, it looks like we're looking for something, but everybody is
Mhm.
looking for something in particular. So that's the kind of situation that we've met. So everybody was like very emotional, and I was like crying for 3 days and then laughing for the rest of the week. And it was so interesting. And the way we've met, so I was there as a student,
As a
right?
participant, yes.
As a participant, and you were
Mhm.
there as a volunteer, someone who was
Yes.
working there and helping
Yes.
us out in the process. So I remember that we didn't spoke much at the
Mhm.
beginning, and
Mhm.
then towards the end we had a conversation, and I was like, oh my god, like you are me. You are me, but in a different person. Our stories and everything. I was seriously shocked. I was like, everything you were saying, I was like, why is she speaking like I do? Like, what's this?
And you also have to tell them that we're both Geminis,
Oh,
so that has a
yes,
lot to do with
everybody.
it too.
Yes, everybody. We are both Geminis. So get ready. So we're probably going to be here smiling and talking about
Or
happy,
crying.
silly
Maybe
things
we'll be
and maybe
crying when we
crying.
discuss our.
We are going, yeah, I think we're going to cry someday.
Yes, and that's okay. And that's
Yeah.
what we want to tell people, that it's absolutely okay to have all the different emotions for both genders, for men too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love crying. You know what? I love crying. And now I have like I love crisis. So everybody, if you tell me like, oh, I'm having a crisis right now, I'm like, good for you. Yes, yes, good for you. Yes, because it's an opportunity, right? It's
Yes.
like crying. Okay, just cry it out. Cry it out, let it go. Crisis. Good.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have an opportunity.
Yes.
You see?
And I think for me, I remember we didn't talk so much at the beginning, because when you're a volunteer and you're working there and there's 50 people, it's very difficult to get to know everybody.
Yeah.
So I think the session had already ended when you were there with, gosh, what was her name? Kai? There were two other people I think that were with you. And I remember we were talking about breakups and how we handled the breakups
Yeah.
and what happened. And it was funny because we just realized that we are the same person in two different bodies.
Yes.
Yeah. So, what chai are you drinking, by the way? We never discussed
Oh
what.
my God. Okay, so this chai, I had to write it down because it has so many ingredients. And I was like,
Oh wow. Okay. Did
I
you
was like,
make it?
Ivana is gonna ask me about this. No, it's from the supermarket, my dear. Um, so it has black tea, cinnamon, ginger,
Mm-hmm.
black pepper, clove, and cardamom, and something
Oh,
else, I
nice.
think. But it's so good and rich.
It
What are you
sounds good.
drinking? And
Just
you?
a regular chamomile tea. Just simple. I needed to de-stress since I was already late for 30 minutes for this podcast.
It was actually so funny because I mean, I was so anxious because, of course, there is a time difference. Everybody, so I'm in Tenerife, right?
Yes, and I'm in the
Canary
U.S.
Islands, and she's in the US. So the time I didn't want to send you a message because I knew that you would be sleeping. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I don't tell anything because I was actually like feeling like, oh my God, we're gonna record this, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this. Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, it's 3 p.m. Like you were not available.
No, I was not.
I still have
Because
an hour, right?
I messed up my time difference. I thought it was only a 5-hour time difference. So I was still taking my sweet time. When you were like, "Are you ready?" I'm like, "Yeah, no."
It's a lesson. Yeah, we're going to learn a lot with this podcast. So
I think
next
so
time
too.
we'll know.
And
Yeah.
I think you already mentioned what both of our intentions are for the podcast. It's just really to have authentic discussions on sensitive topics.
Yeah.
And to be ourselves and tell people it's okay. Like, you do come out of the other end of a crisis. Like, it does get
Mhm.
better.
Yeah.
And I think we both have suffered through some of the same things, like depression and loneliness and childhood
Mhm.
trauma.
Yeah.
And it does get better. I know when you're in it, when you're swimming in it, you feel like you're never going to get out of it, but you do it
Yeah.
because you choose to. Whether
Yeah.
that involves you getting help with a professional, like a professional psychiatrist or a counselor or a life coach. It does get better.
It does get better, and yeah, that's mainly our intention. And one thing that I think it's worth mentioning is that we also want to give you tools, like things that you can
Mhm.
use,
Mhm.
because it's good to share and talk about things. But one of the things that I love about coaching is like, okay,
Mhm.
now what? Now what you're gonna do about that? Yeah, because everybody knows that
Mhm.
we're triggered, that depression exists, that yeah,
Mhm.
so and I think that you too, you also want to help and to give actual tools that people can use at home, yeah? And
Yes.
these are things that actually like worked with us or that we
Mhm.
heard about it and want to share with you in
Yes.
case it suits you. So yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
So do we want to talk about how to stay in peace during this quarantine? What are some things that you're doing? Because it's affecting us very differently. Like I am living in Mobile, Alabama right now, and because we don't have so many cases, people here are still going out in public, walking around, going to the parks, because we're technically not under quarantine. It's just that
Mhm.
people are asked to stay in their home, and
Yeah.
if they, unless they really have to go get groceries, and then most businesses are closed here. What about you? Tell me
Okay.
about your situation.
Well, the situation here in Tenerife is totally different. Basically, we have no choice. We are staying at home. It's a total quarantine unless you work as a medic or paramedic or sanitary um, jobs. You cannot leave the house. Yeah.
Hmm.
So the only exception is for you to go to buy groceries, or if you need to go to the pharmacy, or if you have a dog and you have to walk the dog.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
at the moment, I'm spending like 15 to 30 minutes outside. That's what I get. Yeah.
You're taking the dog out even if he doesn't have to go, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm like, you gotta go. This, you gotta go. And we're living in a very weird situation because I live in a beautiful island. You know, we have the
Yeah.
beach and the mountains and the sea and everything, and we cannot enjoy any of that. We
Yeah.
have to
And
stay at
actually,
home.
yeah, and actually I visited you and I stayed with you in Tenerife and it was very nice. It's a beautiful island. I love the food. The people are nice. We had a very nice time.
Yeah.
So now you have to come visit me in Mobile, Alabama. Once we can actually fly and do things.
Yes, I'm ready.
So,
Um,
something else that we mentioned last time we spoke was, what is your oasis in this desert? Like, what is this
mhm.
beautiful water that you finally come after walking in the desert? Like, what are some things that you're doing during this quarantine that are improving your life or helping you just handle it? Because sometimes
Yeah.
people, for people that can't leave their house, it becomes claustrophobic.
Yes, it can become very claustrophobic. I have like a complete manual. I have like a book written on what to do so you don't get bored and everything. Like, to answer
Are you
your,
going to turn that into an ebook?
no, but
Come on.
probably a blog post or something. Okay, a blog post, because I you know everything I have to do. Yeah, coach.
Yes,
So
yes, I do. I
I'm not going
remember.
to do an ebook. So, just to answer your question regarding the oasis, and then we can go to things that people can actually do, and I
Oh,
can
okay. Yes.
give them a list. Yeah. So,
Perfect.
my oasis right now, it's where I'm standing, sitting.
Mhm.
It's my meditation room. It's where I
Mhm.
come to meditate and to practice yoga. And right
Mhm.
now, since it's the place where I have more light coming in, even though today is
Mhm.
a little bit cloudy, it's the place where I come to be by myself with my thoughts and to a little bit of recap and regroup. And last
Mhm.
time we spoke, I told you that I feel like waves of energy. People are
Mhm.
feeling
Mhm.
nervous. It's energy. Sometimes
Mhm.
I'm really okay. Sometimes I feel the stress of other people. So yes,
Mhm.
coming here, meditating, doing yoga, or just stay, sit
Mhm.
down and write down for a few minutes.
Yeah.
It has been my oasis, especially because I'm with my boyfriend and he's also in
Mhm.
quarantine, and we're living together.
Yeah.
And one thing is living together and work and do stuff, and the other thing is like
Yeah.
in each other's face for
24/7. Yeah.
24/7. It's been about 20 days now. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
For me, I would have to say it's going to the park. We go to the park for about an hour and just walk around. Being in nature, like getting to hear the animals, the sounds, the smell, like the fresh smell when you're in this beautiful forest. And I would agree with you for the same thing on my own yoga practice and meditation. And I like to do my routine in the morning. I think we talked about it, is that sometimes instead of Shavasana, I don't do Shavasana, which is corpse pose. I just put on a song that I like and I dance it out in my room. And I feel like that when I'm dancing, it's because usually typically dancing is associated with happiness, like at different events.
Yeah.
And it puts me into such a better mood for the rest of the day. And I have to confess, this morning there was no dancing. There was running out of the room to get here so we could have this phone call.
Maybe we should dance at the end. We'll be like,
I thought about that. I was like, I'll get to do it after the podcast.
ah.
But you know what? This is us being authentic, okay? That
Yeah,
sometimes things don't go according to plan, right? Like
that's
sometimes
it.
it's best not to have plans and just go with it.
It is what it is, guys.
Don't resist the change. We talked a lot about Indian traffic and how from the outside it looks like it's this mass chaos. Like everyone
Yeah.
is just going everywhere. There's tons of honking. There's like this old lady trying to cross the street on incoming traffic. But when you're in
Mhm.
it, it's just this organic flow. Like it just kind of moves like the
Yeah.
water, and you don't see so many car accidents.
Yeah.
I find it fascinating. I'm fascinated with Indian traffic.
Yeah, and this is like just before I continue, just for you to know, guys, Shavasana, in case you don't know, it's just when you finish your yoga practice, we usually finish in Shavasana position, which is basically you just lay down on the floor
Hmm.
and your hands are like the palm of your hands are facing up, and you just relax and listen to some relaxing music, just for you in case you don't know, because some people may not know.
Hmm.
And
Thank you for explaining that.
sure. And the traffic situation, I mean, I think that this situation that we're living right now is the perfect example to show us that nothing like the change happens. I mean, the
Hmm.
only thing that we can know for sure is that one, we are going to die, and two, things change. Yeah, like 1 week things can be like this. The most important thing, and that's why we're talking about this peace amongst chaos, is that we stay peaceful inside and we accept it, as you said. Just
Hmm.
accept that things may change. Just enjoy the present and everything. And this acceptance, um, how do you manage to accept change? What do you do?
How do I accept change? Well, for
Yeah.
me, I feel like my whole life has been about change, and I love
Mhm.
change. And every 6 years of my life, I've moved either to another state or to another country. So
Mhm.
I embrace change. I love change, because I feel like to me, moving to another place, it's like, oh, I get to find a new favorite grocery store. I get to find, my new favorite park or a new favorite cultural event, and then I get to make new friends. But as you get older, you realize that it's more difficult to make friends.
Mhm.
And yeah, so I guess it's just life is always changing. Every day we're a different person, and it's
Yeah.
just to accept that. Like, because if you're resisting to it, it's going to happen whether you want to or not. It's just what kind of energy do you want to be in? And I just finished
Mhm.
reading Ask and It Is Given by Abraham Hicks, and she talks about how you
Ah,
want to be in that vibration of what is it, I know, right? Like, what is it that you want, and then you have to be in that vibration to accept it. Like, you and I started this podcast on a whim, and it was just like, I had messaged you and I said, what if I had a podcast, this is what I would call it. And then you said, absolutely, let's do one together. And here we
time is
are
now.
a week later, and we have a podcast, and we're
Yeah.
doing it. Whether it sucks or not, we're just really excited to share the information that we both have, because we
Yeah.
spend so much time learning and retaining all this information, and we just want to help as many people as possible to live their
Yeah.
best life.
Yeah, that's completely true. I think that change may be a little bit stressful, especially if you are not
Hmm.
used to it or if you are tired of change. You know,
Yes.
I stayed in Tenerife because I had enough. I was like, I had enough. I'm gonna stay here. Like seriously, if you tell me that I have to move right now, with all the mindfulness and everything, I will be stressed. So if change makes you stressed, I advise you practice gratitude every
Hmm.
day, because even if things change, you will always have something to be thankful for. It's not going
Hmm.
to change and everything is going to be horrible. No.
Hmm.
And also mindfulness, because if we practice mindfulness and if we practice living in the present moment, then if things change, yeah, I'm here now and things change, we realize that we have to embrace this moment where we are at the moment. So I would say a lot of mindfulness and gratitude if you struggle with this, with change. It's complicated.
I told you before that I quit my job in 2015, and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew that I ran to the Indian embassy. I got my Indian visa. And in 2 weeks, like everything like happened out of nowhere. Like I found another person for my apartment. I was able to like just leave my job. And I moved all my stuff back home, and it just worked out. So I feel like when you want something so badly, it happens, and the whole world conspires to help you. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
had so many friends that are coming to help me, like, pack and unpack and move things. And that's, have you read The Alchemist?
Yes, I did.
That's a
Yeah.
quote from that book. Like, he talks about how, like, once you make a decision and you're ready for that change, everything in the world is going to come there and help you make it
Yeah.
happen. And I'm a
Yeah.
big believer in that. I'm a big believer in the choices that we make depend on the info we have at the time, like, that was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my entire life, was quitting that job, getting on that airplane, and not knowing where I was going. And you know what I used to think? I didn't have any more keys. All of a sudden, I didn't have keys to an apartment. I didn't have keys to my parents' house. I was keyless. What does that
Wow.
mean to people when you don't have keys to a house somewhere? Because we associate that with belonging. Like, oh, okay, I have a key to
Yes.
get to my apartment. That's my home. But all of a sudden, I had no keys. And it to me, it felt like freedom.
Yeah.
I didn't have to spend looking. I didn't have to overthrow my whole apartment looking for the keys anymore.
Yes, that is so
You
interesting. I think
know?
it's so interesting to see this different perspectives, even though we're the same, we're so different at the same time.
Yeah.
And yeah, I believe that you must have felt like this freedom.
Oh,
Yeah,
I did.
because you didn't.
Yes. And then as you start to travel, especially because I was traveling by myself, you start to build up your confidence because you have to be everything yourself. You don't have another
Mhm.
person to ask for help. Like,
Yes.
you have to read the map. You, if you get lost, you're the one that's lost.
Yes.
But I met so many wonderful people in my travels from all over the world, and it really changed my perspective
Hmm.
on things I believe, because you won't find so many young Americans traveling because it's not built into the culture here. We only get 2 weeks of vacation time, and
Yeah,
most people don't even take that.
yeah, that's so interesting because I didn't know that until I traveled to India and actually heard about it. Because here we have like 30 days holiday, so
Yeah, right. No.
we, if you don't travel, it's because you don't want to travel. And it's crazy.
Hmm.
Of course, if I have only 2 weeks, well, maybe I would consider, and sometimes it's not even at the same time, right? So you have probably 1 week here and
Yeah,
but
you would not be able to take 2 weeks off. And actually, those
to
2 weeks
go.
sometimes apply to you if you get sick. So let's say you end up in the hospital for 10 days. There go your 2 weeks.
No, are you
You know what I
serious?
mean? Like,
Wow.
so it's really, it's just not built into the culture. Like, and I grew up in Germany, and so, and most of the time in Germany, when you're 18, you're supposed to go off to another country by yourself and
Yeah.
see, explore it and see their differences and the commonalities. But we don't have anything like that. Even Australians,
Mhm.
like, they have a 6 month of travel built into their system, into their culture, into their education. So they either leave when they're 18, when they're done with high school, or they take it when they're done with college. But everyone does it, and we just don't have anything like that. Like, we don't encourage
Mhm.
people to travel. I guess it's really sad
Yeah.
to me too.
Well, it's good that you can bring that perspective to people.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a good segue to go back to what we were talking, because right now we are living in a moment where everybody has to stay at home. So you cannot go
Exactly.
anywhere. But on the other hand, you can figure out what you want to do next, like what kind of life do you want to live. So maybe you want to travel more, maybe you want to do more stuff. Like from the moment I had to stay at home, seriously, I was so organized because that
Hmm.
3 hours that I was spending walking from one side to another, from one class to the other, and stuff like that, all of a sudden, I was like, my life was sorted. I made decision, I started new things. And so this is one of the things that I would tell people to do, to stay grounded and peaceful, and also have some, we're listening to so many negative things on social media
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
everything. So right now, if you focus only on the information you are given, well, then it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for you. It's going to be tough.
Yes, I agree.
So yeah, so I would say, like, create your information, design your future, like figure out what you want to do.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
when you go to bed, just instead of thinking about how many people are dying at the moment, which is horrible, not saying that it's not horrible, but we are
Hmm.
being bombarded with that information. It's so crazy. So I rather go to bed and think about my dreams, yeah, and then in the morning I will worry about the coronavirus situation.
I agree. I've really taken this time to do all the things that I said I wanted to do, like this podcast, and
Mhm.
I'm making my own website. So this time that I'm taking is really just to advance my career and move into a different career field. Like I know that I don't want to go back to practicing law.
Mhm.
I know that it helped people, but I don't want to work in a situation that has me stressed out all the time. Like I'm too sensitive for that now.
Yeah.
So I'm also doing a certification to become a life coach. I know you said you're a life coach, you're a certified life coach.
Mhm.
But I agree with you. I think it's really like asking yourself some deep questions on how can you remain peaceful during this time, like what are you grateful for. I think we talked about that a lot. Like I do a
Yes.
meditation where I used to say 108 things I was grateful for, and there were simple things like I'm so grateful I can walk, I'm grateful I
Yeah.
can breathe, I'm
Yeah.
grateful that I can use my hands, because I think we've all know that when we've had casts we can't use our hands. So tell me, do you want to tell me 3 things that you're grateful for right now?
Yeah, why not? First of all, I'm so grateful that we're doing this. It's this is great. Seriously, it's a dream come true. I think because I always thought about having a podcast. I didn't know how, and as I told you the other day, like it's so easy to talk to you that
Mm-hmm.
this is just us talking, and I love how we are approaching things and the way we're doing things, just being ourselves and just talk to people. So I'm very grateful for this moment and for creating the podcast. I am very grateful because right now there is nothing missing in my life. You know, I have a home, I have shelter, I have food in the fridge. I didn't lose my job. A lot of people lost their jobs. I didn't lose my job. I have, you know, I don't. I have 3 jobs, so that's cool. Um, and I'm grateful that my family is okay. That my boyfriend is here because I don't know what would happen if I was here alone. I would probably do personal development work or whatever, but I
Mm-hmm.
can't imagine. You know, it's like 24 hours in a day for 20 days. I think it can be lonely, so I'm very grateful to have him here, and that I think he's the perfect person to be here right now because he's so calm and peaceful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm grateful for that. A lot of things.
I would say that I'm grateful for having my parents home because I was living in India before I came back. So it's just really nice to, because if I came back to the US and I didn't go home, I wouldn't have a place to stay. So I'm very grateful for having a home.
Mm-hmm.
I'm grateful for that they're feeding me. And right now, I'm actually grateful that I can take this time and not have a job and not have to work because my parents are supporting me. But while I was in India, became sick and lost vision in one of my eyes. And so right now, I just need to take time to recover and not stare at the screen so much. So I'm grateful for those things. And I'm grateful for my eyes. I'm grateful for able to just be able to see. So many times we take everything that we have for granted. Like we take for
Yes.
granted that we can get out of bed and walk, and that we can go to the bathroom, that we don't need help with someone like taking us to the bathroom, that we can eat our own food, that we don't have to be fed. I spent 2 weeks in the hospital, which I'll elaborate more in another podcast, but wow, that has been such a humbling experience to be in the hospital for 2 weeks or longer, and then to finally like be able to do things yourself is just wow. It really puts things into perspective for all the things that we take for granted, because we do. And once you can be more grateful for all the things that you have in life, you just start vibrating a different type of energy. Like it's just, you're just grateful just to walk and to laugh, and to be able to
Yes.
talk.
Yes. It is
It's a
so
different energy.
good. It is so good that you mentioned this because right, you start vibrating in a different way. And there's something interesting that happens also in your brain, right? You don't
Mhm.
have to
Mhm.
believe in energy. Just
Mhm.
something happens in your brain that when you are practicing gratitude, you start looking for things to be grateful for more and
Mhm.
more and more, and it will become like automatic.
Mhm.
And it's such a good feeling. So yeah, people, be grateful.
Yes. So we also want to hear from our audience. We discussed this earlier that we want to interact with you guys. So you'll be able to contact us via our Gmail account
Yeah.
or on YouTube as well. And we want to know, like, what are you grateful for during this time? Like we really want to know.
Yeah, and if you have questions for us, it doesn't matter seriously. Just ask us anything, and we will try to answer in the next episode.
That's
So
right.
yeah, that was so good. I loved it. That was a good conversation, right?
Yes, it was.
Mm,
I'm very happy that we got to talk this morning
yeah.
or this
Or
afternoon, your
this
time.
afternoon for me. Oh boy. Is there anything else that you want to tell people?
Ah, go home and hug your family. You know,
Oh, I like
just
that.
just be grateful that they're still alive if they are, and be appreciative of your life and what you have, because a lot of people are in
Mhm.
different situations.
Yeah. So, you know what? You spoke about this and to be grateful for your families. And the other day I was thinking about people that are in difficult situations, that their
Mhm.
homes are not the best place to be.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
And I want to speak to those people and tell them, like, it's going to be okay. And
Mhm.
eventually, and look for help if you need, please,
Mhm.
because you don't need to be suffering. We're not in this earth to suffer. So I think sometimes we talk about family so much and everything, but sometimes we have family that sucks. And
That's
if you
true.
have a good family, yes, be come on, be grateful, because that's so good. That's really, really good.
But your family can also be your friends, like the family that you created
Yes.
on this earth. Like sometimes we don't get a choice on who we're born to, but
Yes.
you get to choose your friends and you get to create your own family. Because to me, my friends
Totally.
are like family. So,
Totally
go home and
agree.
hug your friends or whoever or if you have pets and they're like, I know
Yes.
Erica has the cutest little puppy.
I do.
Uh, Maybe one day she'll show him on our
Yes.
podcast because he's
He's not
adorable.
around. He's not around. He now loves my boyfriend more than he loves me.
Oh, get out.
Yeah. And now, like, when I leave the house, he misses me and comes to me, but otherwise it's just like they're happy together
Oh.
and I'm just the other one. It's a joke. We all love each other equally. So
Was there anything else
yeah.
you wanted to talk about?
I don't know. I love to go hug someone thing. And I think that's it. If you're out of ideas, you never meditated before, start meditating. If you
Hmm.
never did yoga before, do yoga. If you want to study something, start a career, go. You don't need to spend money. Go look for things on Google, just
Yes.
take this time and ground yourself. Like,
Hmm.
what best time than now?
I
That's
agree.
it.
I agree. To take
Mhm.
this time to just become an even better person after this is over and we're back to a new normal.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. I think that's it for today. What do you
Yes,
think?
I agree. Thank
We're
you so much
done.
for joining us and tune in next week when we discuss a different topic.
Yes. Thank you very much, everybody. We are going to put the email somewhere over here. I don't know how that works, but
We'll
basically,
figure it out.
we'll figure it out later. Ivana, can you tell the Gmail, because I'm afraid I'll get it wrong.
Chat with us podcast at gmail.com.
Try with
No,
us.
try with us. I blame you
I
because you said you're going to get it wrong.
so much.
Don't email chat with us. It's not us, okay?
Okay, guys, that's it. Be grateful. Have a beautiful day wherever you are. Sleep
Bye.
light. Bye bye. Okay, I'm gonna start. I'm gonna stop. Okay.
Okay.